I'm back again today, and I am going to show you how I clean up my vintage Speedy bag. So first, let me just say, excuse the hair and no makeup. Keeping it 100 over here. Okay, so I'm just going to get right into the video as usual. This bag is a vintage Speedy bag. This one is from 1996, so it's about 21 years old. So with vintage bags, they tend to build up a lot of darkness on the handles. You know, this is just from like dirt and grime and just natural oils of your hand. So I'm going to show how I clean that. So what I'm going to use to clean it. Now, I do want to mention that this is going to be my second cleaning. I already cleaned it yesterday and conditioned it, so I'm just going to repeat the process to lighten it up a little bit more. And what I'm going to be using for that is Kiwi Saddle Soap. And this soap you can get from Walmart for about $5. So, and then I'm just going to use like a piece of, this is like from an old t-shirt, like a little cotton t-shirt. And I'm just going to wet that. Now this water is, it's like bottled water, spring water. They say you can use distilled water. You don't want to use faucet water because it'll leave spots. Faucet water tends to have like minerals in it and stuff. So it can leave watermarks and stuff on the bag. So just slightly dampen that. You don't want this to be wet by any means. So just get it kind of wet enough to where you could just like rub it into the soap. Now you just need a little bit of this stuff. And what I like to do is like rub the piece of material together. And if it doesn't lather up, just add a little bit more water. And then you can go back in with a little bit more soap. That should be about good. It's not going to lather up like a body wash. So what you do is you lightly run it back and forth. You don't want to apply too much pressure, just gently back and forth. And as you can see, it doesn't take much to get some of this color off. Now, also, I do want to mention that you don't want to use this technique on a bag that is dry. If the leather is dry and cracked, this soap is going to just dry it out more because, I mean, it's a soap. It's going to dry out the leather regardless. But if your bag is already conditioned a little bit, like if you notice here, see how there is a slight sheen, even though it's dark? There's a slight sheen to the handles, so that's the kind of bag that it would be okay to apply the leather conditioner to. And I'm not going to use the saddle soap on this, again, just because I did it yesterday, and it's looking a little dry to me, and I think it's because I'm not using the right kind of leather conditioner. They say the Cadillac one is really good. I haven't tried it. The conditioner that I use is the Dillards brand one because it's just what I had lying around. But and I'm gonna get to that in a little bit, and I'll show you guys what I use for that. So again, just a little bit more water, and I just turn the rag over to get a fresh spot on it, and same process. And there's a lot of different methods, like on YouTube, for cleaning like vintage bags. There's a method of using just some water in a cloth, and that works for some people. There's also another method of using a magic eraser. And I've tried that method before, and I didn't really care for it. I felt like it just really dried out the leather, and it didn't clean it as well as this. Like, this is like really getting all the dirt and grime off of it. So you just keep going with that. And some people like to use baby wipes too. Now, I've tried that. It works pretty well. You can do the initial wipe down with baby wipes, and if you don't feel like that got it clean enough, you could use the soap. So now that pretty much got all that cleaned up with the soap. It's still going to be dark. In fact, it's going to be even darker now that I use the soap, but that's because it's damp. So this is going to lighten up as it dries, and when this dries, which usually takes about 30 minutes to an hour, when it dries, that's when you want to go in with your conditioner. Like I said, this is the Dillards one that I'm using. There's better ones out there. There's, I think it's called Apple Care. That's a really popular one on the Purse Forum. And then Cadillac conditioner is also a really popular one, which I do intend to get eventually. This is just what I have, so having any kind of leather cleaner is definitely better than none. So we're gonna let this dry about 30 minutes, and then I'm gonna come back and show you how I condition it. Okay, so now that the handles are dry, we can go ahead and apply the leather conditioner to them. And also, now would be a good time to, or before you use the saddle soap, you could clean up the brass. And to clean up the brass, I like to use Brasso. You can find this at Walmart as well. And just get a Q-tip and just dip it in. And what I like to do is, I like to let it sit on there for a bit, so I'll apply it. And before rubbing it in, just let it sit to kind of break down the grime and stuff. And then I'll go back in and kind of scrub it away a little bit. And it doesn't need to sit for long either. So now use the clean side and just like small circular motions to clean it up. Try not to get it on the leather. If you do, it's not really a big deal, but it's better if you don't. And as you can see, it's a lot cleaner already. And then just take a clean cloth and then just wipe that away. And polishing up the brass is going to make a big difference on the look of the bag. See how shiny that one is compared to this one? So see how that one's just a little dull? So polishing up the brass is really gonna help improve the look of the bag. So same thing with this one, just small circular motions. And then wipe that away. And what I like to do is, like, if you have nails, just put your nail like this with the cloth and then just work it around that rivet, and that way it'll get like all that gunk out. That's kind of hard to get out with just the Q-tip. So see how that just came off like around that rivet? That just gets it like extra clean. I'm not going to do both sides. I'm just going to show you this one side just to save time. But you guys can see like what a difference that makes compared to this side where this is kind of dull. Just really helps improve the overall look. Okay, so now to condition, give this a shake. And I apply this stuff generously because that saddle soap does tend to like dry out the leather. So just rub that in, and it's still gonna take dirt off with this. This is a leather conditioner, but it's also a cleaner. So it'll clean and condition the leather. And just dab that like that. And so since I'm conditioning it, it is going to get darker right now, but as it dries, like tomorrow when it's fully dry, it's going to lighten up. So don't let it scare you, the fact that it's so dark right now, because it'll look better tomorrow once it's dry. So just rub that in. So Well, it's quite a bit darker now, but that's okay. Again, a generous amount, and just work that in. Cleaning my bags is actually one of my favorite things to do. It's kind of therapeutic almost. Something about like getting dirt off of something, especially when I'm shining up the brass, like it just, I don't know, it's like relaxing to me. Also, another thing you could do is use that brasso on the zipper too. That'll make a huge difference. Just be really careful that you don't get it into like into this part, like the material part, because then it gets a little tricky to get out. So just use a steady hand if you wanted to do that. I'm just gonna show you since we're done conditioning the handles now. I'm gonna go back and condition these too, just off camera. But if you want to condition the zipper, you could go ahead with the brasso and just run this along carefully in there, and then get the clean side and run it along. And you just want to use it like sparingly. You don't want to use so much that it starts to like leak over into this part, because that's kind of hard to get out. So I might show that if anybody's interested and wants to see that. I might show that in another video. So if you want to see a video like that, like more detailed of cleaning the brass, just leave me a message in the comments if you want to see something like that. And as far as like conditioning other parts of the bag, Q-tips are great for getting into the piping and stuff like that. So yeah, that's about it. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed this video. Cleaning leather, stuff like that. Just let that sit on there. I love cleaning the brass. See all that? All that gunk. One of the biggest improvements that you can make to a bag is polishing up the brass.